Oh God!
This is Steve Hannley. I'm joined tonight with Adam Beck.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good, but it would not be going that well if you had not just played one of the Game of the Years for Xbox One, I assume, Rise of the Tomb Raider.
I mean, it's up there, but I don't know if I would consider it Game of the Year.
Well, how many Xbox exclusives have there really been this year, though?
Fair amount. I mean, you got Halo, Halo 5, Rare Replay, Gears of War Ultimate Edition, Ori and the Blind Forest. It has a strong strong lineup.
It's been a good year for the Xbox One. I cannot deny that point.
No, definitely not. I mean, compared to the other consoles, it's doing well.
What about compared to the Wii U, though? How about that?
I mean, they got Splatoon and...
You just said that to appease Dermot, though. No one cares
pretty much. I
about
mean, he loves that game, so...
So let's get the story about Rise of the Tomb Raider. Literally, actually, I want you to talk about the story right now.
For sure. I mean, this takes place after the events in the Pacific Ocean where Lara Croft went after... What was she going after? I can't remember. She got shipwrecked, and her friend
Pirates?
Sam... Pirates, and... It's been a while since I played it, but this takes place after that.
Oh, I thought this was a prequel.
Oh, no. I mean, this is the rise of her. I mean, she just started in 2013 release, and this one is her her upbringing.
So,
and,
do the Tomb Raider reboots, do they take place in the same universe as the previous Tomb Raider games?
I don't think so. I mean, she's much younger in these games. For all we know, Crystal Dynamics is looping this all around, but right now it's its own standalone thing.
Okay, so she survived the events of the Tomb Raider reboot, and she's on a new adventure.
Yeah, she's finds a path to Siberia, of all places.
Oh, wow.
I'm a big fan of snowy environments, so this appealed to me right away.
Me too.
And I mean, you live in the desert, so
yeah. So it's like how excited a Japanese man gets when he comes to the desert. For me, it's the opposite.
But yeah, she's looking for the lost city of Katesh because she believes there is a artifact called the Divine Source, which can grant people immortality. And this was a thing that her father was. He devoted his life to it, and doing so, he was mocked and ridiculed by the historian community, I guess, and which ultimately is Lara Croft's driving goal. This is pretty much a standard Indiana Jones type inspired adventure. The protagonist goes after an artifact, continuously crosses paths with an opposing force, in this case a force called Trinity, and stumbles across ancient races and uncovers hidden secrets. It's Indiana Jones and Uncharted in a nutshell. And it's not particularly amazing, but it's about Lara Croft and how she's becoming her own. In the past game, she was very much I wouldn't say timid. She was strong, but she didn't know how to deal with a lot of the situations. Whereas this, she's unfazed by a lot of it. She faces grizzly bears. She kills people on an instant. She is something else in this.
How would you say the story overall compares to the first title?
I mean, there are elements that I really enjoy, but it's pretty formulaic in Indiana Jones-esque adventure.
But the first game was too, really, wasn't it?
I should agree, but I mean, she was shipwrecked, whereas this, she's on a quest where she is searching for an artifact. Where before, while she was searching for an artifact, she accidentally stumbles upon it, and all these events occur with her friend Sam and whatnot. But this has a good antagonist, at least, because his desires to get the divine source isn't particularly evil. You can tell he has some good in him, even though part of his drive and is kind of questionable, and specifically that he kills hundreds, if not thousands, of natives of the Siberian lands, and is constantly hunting Lara.
So one of the coolest dynamics, or should I say, crystal dynamics, of the first game. Yeah, pretty clever. Was the fact that Lara was shipwrecked, as you said, and she was trying to survive. She was not this badass heroine. She was scared. She would get cold. She fell into blood pits. You thought she could die. You wanted to protect her. Do you get that same sense here, or is she more of a badass?
She's very much more of a badass. I mean, there is a sense of wanting to protect her, but it's like one thing I noticed in this game was that the first game, or the 2013 reboot, had a lot of like death scenes where like you get stabbed through the gut with a branch, or get like your neck cut or something, like neck slit or whatever. This, I didn't find many deaths. Like there's
or are you just that good at the game? Is that what you're trying to say? Are you bragging right now?
I am so bragging. But no, I mean the environmental deaths are what's going to happen the most. But the only time where I was like, whoa, what happened there? Like just kind of disturbed by it was when she just fell in a spike pit. Everything else is pretty, she's ragdolls or whatnot. So the gore and shock value has been kind of decreased in this installment. Is
there a giant pit of blood though? At least tell me there is.
No, unfortunately, no.
That has to be in every game now.
I know, but they did in Descent and.
Yeah, I kind of ripped off Descent. I mean, I think it's the exact same camera shots even from that film. Yeah. But hey, there's worse horror films to rip off. So what other changes are there besides the fact that there's no gigantic blood pit anymore?
So this is one of my, I don't know if I would consider it a negative notion, but it is very similar to the first game. Like you have the standard bow and arrow, assault rifle, handgun, and shotgun, and that's pretty much all the weapons. There are different variants of it, but otherwise it is you are killing enemies with these types of weapons. They're mostly abilities you have in the 2013 release make their return. There is I couldn't remember if this was in the original, but I was pretty sure it wasn't. It was I guess a rope you can attach to your climbing axe, and you can throw it up to certain ledges and climb up there. It's good for like collectibles and finding extras around the environment, but other than that, there's not a whole lot in the gameplay department. I mean, what has changed is this massive world. Like again, in the 2013 reboot, it was still pretty open. You got campsites that you can travel to. There's things in the environments that returns in this, but I feel like it's a much grander scale. There are 3 main gigantic areas with like maybe 10 side ones, and they have like crypts you can explore, challenges to do, documents to find. And the documents I really enjoy because it actually unlocks a lot of the story. Instead of like the cinematics tell some of the tale, but it's very much the writings of like the antagonist's group. They start writing like journal entries and whatnot, and you actually understand them a bit more. You get to read old Mongolian adventurers, Greek philosophers, and all that, and that tells the story a little bit more. But the open environments is great because one of the big aspects the past game kind of failed to initialize was tomb raiding. I mean, this is Tomb Raider, and there weren't too many tombs to actually raid. And this time there's, I think, 10 to get through, if not more. And they are relatively challenging. Some are easier than others, but they do break up the challenge a bit and give you Lara some abilities in completing them. The only negative notion I have towards this is that I wish there was a multi-tiered or multi-layered ones, because it is mainly just one area and you find out the solution through maybe 2 or 3 different actions, and then you win. But there are some that are actually relatively challenging.
So this is not really a survivalist game anymore.
It is a survivalist game. I mean, to upgrade your weapons, you gotta hunt animals, deers, even bears and cougars and mountain lions.
Cougars.
And yeah, I mean, you can hunt whatever you want, but it is mainly about the combat and the adventure aspects of it. I do feel like there's a little more adventuring than there is combat, specifically in the first half. The last half of the story is fairly action-packed. I mean, there is some guided scenarios, but there's a lot of the gunplay is actually well implemented this time around because the stealth is a larger aspect because you have more items around the environment. So before, like if you shot an arrow at someone, they'll instantly know where you're coming from. Whereas if you kill someone and the guy wasn't looking at the guy, he wouldn't know where that came from. So he would investigate instead of instantly firing upon you. And there are new grenade weapons, like items you can craft in the environment, like Molotovs, explosives, smoke bombs, and it adds a lot to the combat.
Now, I think we can both agree that the greatest element of the original Tomb Raider reboot of the original game was the multiplayer. It was just fantastic. I still log on daily and blast away in the multiplayer. How great is the competitive multiplayer in Rise of the Tomb Raider?
Well, unfortunately, I'll have to inform you that there isn't multiplayer in this.
Pre-order has been canceled. I'm putting this on hold, and I'm going to GameStop, and I'm not going to get this game. And I think everyone agrees with me.
As much as you love the multiplayer, it was a kind of throwaway.
I was the only person playing it, Beck. I like to win, okay?
I mean, it was something Eidos, I think, Montreal crafted up in the original, or the 2013 reboot. And this time it's kind of been replaced with an expenditures mode, which is basically redoing missions and tombs over again for score attacks to get on leaderboards. It has different aspects. Like we just got done playing Halo 5, and that had a requisition system that actually Tomb Raider kind of has. Whereas you gain currency from doing these or doing the main mission, and you buy packs that unlock cards, which can be used here, which are usually one-time use, which is a little strange, but it unlocks more currency. But even that, it does feel a kind of almost throwaway in that regard, but it's definitely not the main appeal.
Now, the Tomb Raider reboot was one of the best-looking games last generation. I think we can kind of agree on that one. It was a beautiful game. This game came out in, I believe, 2013, possibly. Yep, 2013, and it did not look like a 360 game or a PS3 game. It looked like a current-gen game. I still think back at that game, and I think, hey, that was a current-gen game, wasn't it? I'm like, no, it was a last-gen game. So how good does this game look, given that, yes, we've seen the Tomb Raider reboot remastered on PlayStation 4 and, of course, Xbox One, but this was the first game in the series built from the ground up for the Xbox One, for a current-gen console. Does it look like it is?
There's a relatively large jump in the quality of the visuals. There are some nitpicking elements, like moving through deep snow. The trail you leave behind is somewhat clipping through Lara, but it's and there's like dithering in the field of vision, your perspective of how far the pop-in is, and that's a little weird. But otherwise, this game does look good. Like, there's aliasing issues, but that's mainly for like vegetation areas. Specifically, like the epilogue has some weird anti-aliasing problems. I couldn't. It was very hard to look at. But otherwise, like, the rest of the game is just really, really well done. Lore has never looked so good. The environments, again, I am a big fan of snowy environments, icy, cold, and they've captured this perfectly. I mean, even talking about the presentation, like, the music is really good because it is dynamic. Where, say, you're coming up on wolves and you slowly move in, the music will start getting higher, getting more noticeable. And it really sets the tone for it because you feel so tense when you're in that battle because you know when something is stalking you or when you're in the heat of it.
Now, are there tress effects?
I mean, Lara's hair is not like the 360 or PS3 games. It is very much individual strands, and it really looks nice.
That's great because I think that's the main selling point for the game. At least if you were to believe the hype for the PC version last year.
Yeah, I mean, PC version looked fantastic. Even they replicated that with the PS4 and Xbox One version, and it's brought here to a grand degree.
All right, well, Rise of the Tomb Raider will be available on November 10th for the Xbox 360, but you should not get that version, I assume, and the Xbox One. It's going to be available in Europe 3 days later, and of course, it will eventually be available for PC and PlayStation 4, but that's going to take upwards of a year. So if you have an Xbox One, don't hesitate. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh yeah, I had a great time with this. It's relatively lengthy. I mean, I put 15 hours to complete the main campaign, 20 hours to get up to, I guess, 97% completion. There's a good amount of content here.
All right, well, you can check out Beck's thoughts, his complete thoughts, of course, at our review on hardcoregamer.com.